Hello and welcome to PM Express. My name is Nana Sakwao. It's exactly a year today that we lost Professor J.E.A. Mills, who was the president of Ghana, and it was a shocking news for us because never before in the history of Ghana have we had a sitting president, depart in such a way. And today's been a year. There's been the reef laying and everything's gone on today about that. Now, he was also a taxman. So today the show is in two parts. We'll take the first half to reflect on President Mills, and then the second half we're going to talk taxes, believe it or not. With me in the studio from the extreme left is Stephen Adade-Boafo, Assistant Commissioner in Adabraka Small Tax Payer Office. And then directly next to me is Neil Ante van der Poy, who's an Honorable Member of Parliament for the Dudio. And if anybody was closer to the President, I wouldn't think it would have been closer than him. Neil, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for honoring. But Neil, I'll start. It's been a year. First of all, I think it's come too quick. The weather was the same, and almost everybody remembers where they were when they heard the news. But you were very close to the president. I mean, did it come to you as a surprise, or were you expecting it? Because you were close to him.
Well, thank you very much. First, let me say that may his memory forever live on and linger on. May all the things that he stood for continue to be the values that we all Ghanaians will share. And I'm happy we're also going to talk about tax here. Mm-hmm. That is one area which he was so passionate about. The need for us to use the tax of this country for the welfare and the benefit of all Ghanaians. Let me say that his death came as a surprise to me. If it had happened maybe 2 or 3 days before, maybe I would have taken it, because 2 or 3 days before, we had a church service on Sunday, and he wasn't in the best of shape. So after the church service, we all went up to spend his birthday with him. His birthday had been on Saturday, and I had launched my campaign that day. So I went in to brief him how the campaign launch went. The situation was not the best, so he told me in our normal. Now I just asked that what to say. Me aro, but obey. Me did obey by China na de China chibe hono. No me beat you. Eba treadmill no so me beat you. And that's what we normally do. Sometimes we stand on the treadmill, we see who can stand faster, who can go better. Monday he was okay. Tuesday was fine. Tuesday morning he was almost perfect. So when I got the news, I was shaking a little. I said, how? If he was going to go, why didn't he go on Sunday? Because Tuesday he was okay. So yes, it was quite a shock to me that he left that particular day. And I think it was the greatest deception that death could play on any of us. That when you thought the person was okay, was strong, was okay, has recovered, that was the time when the person had to leave. It was quite painful. It was quite difficult for me. I broke down emotionally, and I don't think I will ever be able to forget that day. Today, after the ceremony, I walked to the castle, and all of a sudden, I felt goose pimples all over my body. I don't know where the tears came from. Imagine this is the house we used to live, we used to work from, and the man is no more, and just within this short time, it's already 1 year.
You see,
it was a problem for me.
I mean, it's undoubted about how good a person President Mills was. Even with our divisive politics and everything, the other side cannot clearly put a finger and say, oh, this was a bad man. He was a good person. And so it becomes very painful that, you, the handlers, you guys were close to him. Everybody thinks that you could have made him rest. You could have designated a person for him to do more of the running around on his behalf. Maybe because of politics, you were not able to come out and say, look, this guy is not very well. He would work from behind the scenes, and this person will work in front of the scene. So it makes, maybe because you are close to the news, you don't hear it. But people are very angry with the likes of you and Koku Anidoho. That's the news.
Nana, thank you very much. I've heard people say so many things. People virtually demonized me, said on me and a company way, and said so many things. But those people don't know who Professor Mills was. He is a very firm, difficult person. He decides what he wants to do, and no one can dissuade him. No one can carry him off. Most of the time, he will call me and say, "Nee, this week I want to do another program. Draw a program for me." So I just draw the program, send it to him. He approves of it, and then we get in contact with those who are supposed to get to know, and then we off. Sometimes you'll be aware, you get to the office in the morning without notice to anyone. He say, "I'm going out." Who are you to say you won't allow him to go? And you're talking about a man who continually say, "I am okay, I'm fit." And truly, when we step onto the ground and we start moving, he looks stronger, healthier, had more stamina than some of us. So who are you to doubt him? Two, you see this man every morning spend close to 1 hour on the machines, pulling, using the treadmill, using the stationary bicycle, and doing all that strong people would do. So if tomorrow, the next morning, he calls you and say, "We're going here," who am I to say you have to rest? And you are talking about the executive president of this country. He has power. He has authority. He orders you move. Who are you to say you will move?
I agree with you. But you were close to him, so you know how serious his illness was. Most of your travels, even to hospitals, they said, "Oh, he was going on a business meeting." But being Ghana, the news would leak to say, "Oh, he was at the hospital, he did this, he did that." So you must have known that even though he was probably keeping a brave face, he needed to relax. You were director of operations.
There was no day, no time when he said he was going for a business meeting that he went to hospital. Whenever he had to go to hospital, he said, "I'm going to hospital." Twice he went for medical checkup, and I was aware of all those times. He comes back 1 week, 2 weeks. He felt within his own body, said, "I'm okay, let's move." We move. There was no way anyone, because one, I'm not a medical officer. I wouldn't know. He has a medical officer with him every day, 24/7. And the medical officer okays it. When we are going onto the field, the medical officer is there. So who am I, Lante, a novice in medical profession, to say that even though you are saying you are okay, I'm looking at you physically and I think you are not okay, so you can do this? I don't have that power, and I can never assume that role. I don't. I work according to his instructions. Yes, I will always have a program ready. I will always work. As a group, as a body, we all plan. We all decide what to do. But at the end of it all, he has the final say. No one person in the presidency or in government could change the program of Professor Mills. Sometimes we even drop programs for him on the campaign trail. He said, "Look, I won't do this." And if he says he won't do it, the only way you can do is to convince him. But if he says he can't do it, he won't do it. And there's nothing you can do about it.
Wow.
He was quite a very firm, strong person. When he says A, it is A.
I've heard
you
that.
can change it. So when people talk about those things, yes, sometimes I listen, I laugh. I say, maybe you don't know Professor Mills very well. But those of us who were close to him,
moving forward, could you guys have told the state that, listen, he's not well, but he's fit to work? Could that information have been given to the nation?
The only person who could do that is himself. And he stood in front of the whole country, in front of cameras, and told the people that I am fit. He said he has been sick. And every human being, one point or the other, be sick. As I sit here today, I can tell you, you're looking at me. Could you judge my situation?
No.
No, but I know within myself that I am a bit too down under the weather. I'm not too well. I know myself. Mm-hmm. But when I tell you I'm okay, because you cannot judge. When I tell you I'm okay, I'm okay.
No, I know I can't judge because I've just probably met you 30 minutes. But if I lived with you in the castle for a long time, I will be able to know that, no, you have this condition or you have that condition. Even though you appear fine, you need to slow down. You know, so on that basis...
Nana, you're talking about the president. You tell the president, oh, sir, I wish you would slow down. I wish you would not do 1 or 2. And he said, I want to do it. What will you do? You stop him? You can't physically stop him. You can't, there is no. And you know the thing about Professor Mills? If he says I'm moving at 9, and you are 9:1, you'll be left behind. By 8:50, he's in the vehicle. 9, he's moving. So what will you do? He will go and leave you. And there's nothing you can do about it. So you either want to follow or not.
Moving forward with health system for the executives, because by all means, if there's a good health system for the executive, you know, it will trickle down to some of us. What are we doing to make sure that there's some good health facilities so that, touch wood, it never happens again, but somebody else, you know, suffers the same plight, there will be help closer home?
I wouldn't say that exclusively for the presidency or to government officials. I think every Ghanaian in this country need to have good health system, should be able to access good health system. And it is my prayer that by the end of the 4-year term of John Mahama, we will have improved upon the health system in the country, health delivery system in the country, that every Ghanaian will have access to good health. It is my prayer that was a prayer of Professor Mills. That's why he's fought to improve upon facilities at the Cape Coast Regional Hospital. He wanted to have more hospitals all over the country as part of the manifesto. He wants to have regional hospital over every region, every district also have a hospital. What is the use of an health insurance when you cannot access health? So it is important that we create a situation whereby every Ghanaian will have good, accessible health. And I think that should be the dream for everybody. It shouldn't be the exclusive preserve of those of us in government positions or public office who should have good health. Every Ghanaian must have good health.
Another thing which Ghanaians mostly are a bit bitter about is that this was our father. I mean, I know you were close to him, but even from afar, everybody tried to find anything to cling on to say, look, that was my relationship with this man. Yeah. I'll tell you what mine was. It was my father's roommate in Lagos. Yeah. Literally, roommate.
Yeah. So and he never forgets any of his roommates and
classmates.
No,
because when he came to campaign in Chebi, he came to my father's house and said, Kwame, I hear if I come to your house and eat, I'll get... Well, there you go. Yeah. So, you see, that is my also link. Yeah. But then my leading question is, why can't they tell us that, listen, he suffered a migraine, he suffered a brain hemorrhage, he had a lung failure, he had a throat failure. This is the coroner's report. I mean,
I think the family had done that. Cadman Mills, who has all this while been the spokesperson for the family, has come out to say he suffered a massive stroke. And from what I was told, I was not readily at the residence when the thing happened. I followed up to 37. From what happened, I have no doubt whatsoever to doubt what Cadman said. Because my mother suffered the same, and I saw it. So I have no doubt that that's what happened. And if that wasn't what happened, then I don't know what else could have caused that. Because he was okay. And you know, stroke can happen within a second, within a minute. Can happen to anybody. A healthy being walking could suffer a stroke all of a sudden, and anything could happen. So I have no doubt in my mind that that was what happened. Coroner's report or anything of the autopsy or anything report is a preserve of the family. It's the family property. They have the right to decide, and they want the whole world to know.
Even as a president?
I believe so. Even as a president, but he has a family. He has a family. You can't take the right. You can't take the right of Nadu. You can't take the right. Yes, you can't take the right of Nadu. You can't take the right of the Mills, Atta Mills family from their property. The report, autopsy report, is theirs. They can decide to make it public or not. Nobody can force them to make it open. Yes, and when Cadman has come out to say this is what happened, I don't believe it is right for anyone to say that Cabman was lying.
We should take that as closure.
Why would he lie about his brother's death? Why would he lie? What has he got to hide? Cabman is an intellectual. He's lived outside this country. He's lived with it a lot. And he knows that if you lie on such issue, one day, it will catch up with you. Because one day, people will come out to say that we performed the autopsy and what you said was wrong. And now, is he, the autopsy was not performed in any other hospital. 37.
Let me go here. In the face of such fierce politics in Ghana, you were close to him. How was he able to remain that calm and not vicious? I mean, what was it that miracle? Because anybody would be a little bit agitated and, you know, try and show his powers a bit because he had it. How was he able to remain that calm?
You are a chief. And one thing I've learned from Professor Mills, which I think I want to encourage every leadership, anybody in leadership to take, is somebody who dissolved power, who dissolved authority, to let it mean that it's rather for the need and the care of the ordinary person. He saw the power he had, not for himself, but for the ordinary Ghanaian. So he was free. He opened up his presidency to anybody. President Mills could pick a phone and call a taxi driver, could pick a phone and call a market woman, could pick a phone. Look, there was a time when a niece in a school asked the mother to call him. He picked the phone. And then they stopped and said, my teacher is always saying things about you. He said, don't listen to your teacher. Listen to what he tells you in the class. That was him. Look, he did something which, up to today, has shocked a lot of people in my area, my constituency. He likes bread. So we used to buy bread for him from 2 different spots. You know, one day he said, these women you buy the bread from, how is their business like? Then we described. He said, look, this is 20 million. Go and give it to this woman. Let her expand her business, employ more people. There's this lady who sells plantain at the Cuckoo Hill. When you are going to our office, the former Russian embassy there, plantain. He used to buy plantain from the woman. I said, this is 10 million. Go and give to this woman to expand her business. That's performance for you. He doesn't see the authority, the power he has, as something that you should use to dominate people, something you should use to suppress people. He sees it as God-given opportunity for you to serve, God-given opportunity for you to let people understand that you care about them. Their problems are your problem. And that's one thing I've learned about him. His caring for people is excuse my language, a bit abnormal. He cares so much. Every time he's asking you, look, and to go for no one yen sui, I call her no one yen sui. I sure that one more Prime Minister for Works and Housing, be somewhere there. How are you soon today? Those are the things he likes.
I'll wrap up by saying that for his nature, you and Koku Anuro were very aggressive. To serve such a humble man, I mean, some of the statements Koku would make, I hate him with a passion, I will do this, I will do that. Serving such a man, you guys came across too aggressive.
I personally thank God that he gave me the opportunity to work with Professor Mills. The Nilante you knew years ago is different from Nilante sitting.
It's true though, you're a bit calmer.
I can tell you for a fact that he has really impacted on my life positively. My way of appreciating things, my way of reacting to people. And he used a verse which, funnily for me, one of my lovely pastors, Sam Kranchi, also used in the Convention of Saints 2012. Matthew chapter 5, verse 9. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the sons of God. Professor Mills, to him, Nana, if I'm always making peace with people who have offended me, he is making peace with people who have offended him, this country will be the most peaceful place. We'll always reconcile. So the issue of peace, as we read, is not just something that he was saying. It is something that he practiced. He practiced, and he seriously influenced me. And I'm always ready. For example, everybody knows, I had a lot of brush with some people during the elections. When we went to Parliament, one of the parliamentary candidates. I wouldn't want to mention the name here. But I made approach. I did a lot of rapprochement to the extent that she continually rebuffed me. I even went to the leadership of her group and said, look, I've made all the approach in the world. I think we should make peace so that we can live together in this house and contribute meaningfully to the people, for the people. And she wasn't ready. I made it until I felt that, look, she wasn't ready. After all, you can extend the olive branch. If the person refuses to take it, there's nothing you can do. So I picked that from Professor Mills, and I want Ghanaians, every Ghanaian, if you value the sacrifice Professor Mills made for this country, let's all be peacemakers. Not peace promoters, not peace builders, but peacemakers. Because that is key, that is important.
Thank you very much. And it's Matthew chapter 5, verse 9. Blessed are the peacemakers, for
they shall be called children of God.
They will be called children of God. Nina, thank you very much for responding to our short notice and giving us an insight. But I like that we should all practice and promote peace. We're going for a break, and when we come back, we are talking something that Professor Mills taught. Tax. He was a tax lawyer, and that's what we're going to be talking about. Stay tuned.
Habitat Fair 2013 coming up 23rd to 25th August. Venue National Theatre. For registration, call 0302 211 688 or 0244 340 435. Habitat Fair 2013 coming soon.
Admittedly, he's a bit calmer now, isn't he? I mean, that's not Neil until you guys knew. He's more calmer. He's definitely been changed positively. And I think everybody should take a cue out of it. And that's Matthew 5, chapter 9. Go and read it and practice it. But you see, this one thing that we are all doing every day, we are breaking the law and probably unaware of it. And that's, the real estate is now booming in Ghana, and the high-end bit, the middle bit. I mean, and especially in the urban areas, you can't even find a place to rent. But for every rent that the landlord collects, there's 8% of that has to go to government as tax, rent tax. And now GRA is now embarking on it and really pushing it for people to be aware that you need to pay rent tax. And as I earlier on introduced him, Mr. Stephen Adade-Boafo, Assistant Commissioner for Adabraka Small Taxpayer Office, to explain to us what is rent tax, and how long has it been? Has it always been, or is it something that's just now coming into the system?
Rent tax, I will simply define it as a tax on rent income.
Okay.
And what it means is that if you are a landlord or property owner, the income that comes to you, you have to pay tax on it. Most of the time, I don't want to use technical words.
Sure.
I want to practicalize it for everybody to understand. It's like any other business that one is doing. If you decide to engage in rental business, the income that comes to you is taxable.
Okay.
So rent tax simply means tax on property.
So what are the parameters? I mean, do you have to, let's say, from 100 cedi rent and above, or from 1,000 cedi rent and above, or where does the tax kick in?
There's no ceiling. There's no ceiling because, as you indicated, it's a final tax.
Mm-hmm.
So once you derive income from property, you have to pay tax at the rate of 8%, and it is a final tax.
Now, who's responsible for paying it? The landlord or the tenant?
Is the one who receives the income.
Okay.
And therefore, it means it's the landlord
who
is supposed to pay.
I see. And, with
the tenant will only help us to trace the landlord.
Okay.
Yes. Because it's the tenant who will pay the money to the landlord. By natural fact, the income is for the landlord or the property owner. And therefore, he has received the income. And therefore, he has to pay the tax.
We are not trained to pay tax as a people. Tax is not part of our culture, and we'll shy away from it as much as possible. Look at how some streets are not named, and all the cluster of houses and everything. So, there's a challenge. How do you find who's even renting or who owns this property for you to?
It's a big challenge, like we have indicated. So what we normally do is to move people around, to physically go around and locate businesses.
Okay.
What we call expansion. Most of the time we try to bring in more taxpayers into our tax net. Those who hitherto were not in the tax net. And so we have in every district a field collection team or teams for the various districts. And their duty is to make sure that every morning when they come to work, they move around. At the same time, we can also get information from other sources like the district assemblies, because the district assemblies or the municipal and metropolitan assemblies, they normally have information about the property owners. And therefore, when we need information, we fall on them. At times, we can also fall on the Lands Commission and Land Title Registration Office, because they also have documents pertaining to property owners. So these are some of the areas that we get information from. And at times, even through the newspapers, people will advertise their businesses and so on and so forth. So a taxman is like a policeman. He goes around searching for people who are supposed to pay tax and trying to establish contact with such people.
See, how long has this tax been enforced?
The rent tax.
The rent tax.
The rent tax has been in our statute books for a very long time.
Wow.
I think somewhere in the 70s.
I see.
And but we were not making headway because of the challenges that we face those years. Because we didn't have logistics like vehicles and so on and so forth. Because if you want to get hold of the landlords, it means you have to be gallivanting for them. And at times you realize that even the tenants who are supposed to assist us are unwilling to assist us with information because of fear of injection. You see, so we did not make too much progress. But somewhere along the line, around the year 2000 to 2010, we did something about it, and the then commissioner established task forces throughout the country. And their mandate was to go around to physically search for the landlords. And they were able to gather a lot of information. As a result, we were able to derive a lot of revenue. But the task forces were disbanded because, a task force is not supposed to be on a permanent basis. And the information that they were able to gather were disseminated to the districts, for the districts to go on and do their work. And so around 2008 to 2010, we were able to collect a lot of revenue from the rent property owners. A lot of revenue. In fact, the revenue doubled. From 2008 to 2009, doubled. From 2009 to 2010, doubled. Until somewhere 2011, 2012, because GRA is in a change process. And the erstwhile Internal Revenue Service and VAT have come together. And it involved a lot of segmentation of files and so on and so forth. And because of that, we lost focus so far as the rent tax was concerned. But the rent tax has the potential to give GRA a revenue breakthrough.
I see.
Yes, because at a point in time, I was in charge of the rent tax throughout the country because I used to coordinate.
Okay.
And I've come to realization that if we are to make headway so far as our revenue performance is concerned, then we have to look at the rent tax aspect.
What are the numbers you're looking at nationwide? I mean, what numbers are we looking at?
In terms of the
cash,
property.
billions, millions, if everybody was honest and paying
In billions, yes, I can say that. If we are to give too much attention on the rent, we can collect so much. Because even my district, from Adabraka Small Tax, from January to June, I've been able to collect 320,000. Just that small office, yes. Only rent tax.
Wow.
Yes. And now management is doing something about it. So they have started providing vehicles for the various districts. Because, like I indicated earlier, before you can locate one landlord, you might have gone around a lot. And at times you go there, the landlord will not be around, you have to be chasing them. So it's not easy. So the issue of logistics has to come in. And now,
how about an issue where, let's say Cocoa Board, renting from somebody, or somebody renting from a government institution? So in that case, then what happens to the tax? I mean,
if Cocoa Board
is renting from, like my house, and Cocoa Board is renting it. Being that they are government, do you still want to take the tax from it?
If Cocoa Board is renting your property,
yes,
that means when they are effecting payment, you have to deduct.
And vice versa. What if I'm renting from them and I'm paying them?
The same way?
You still need the money.
Yes.
Oh, I see.
Even the embassies, some of the embassies
rent.
They are on rental this thing. And the landlords are mostly Ghanaians.
Yeah.
So when the embassies are effecting payment, they are supposed to withhold the 8% and pay to GRA, because taxation in Ghana is territorial. So long as the source of the income is in Ghana, then we have to pay tax on it.
The other thing is, because of the period in which, I might be charging from June to June, somebody's charging from February to February. So, how do you know, how long he's staying in there for to get the right tax?
Every assessment is 1 year.
Okay.
Every assessment, tax assessment is 1 year. You see, so if, for instance, you work for, say, 3 months, that's what will be taken into consideration. But the assessment is for 1 year. But it will be taken into consideration that you started work, say, in October, and therefore you work for only 3 months. But every assessment is 1 year for tax purpose. But if you start say, in July, it will be assumed that you only work for 6 months. But you'll be given assessment for 1 year, taking into consideration that you work for 6 months.
So what do? I come to your office, pick up a form and said, I have a property, somebody is renting it, this is how much I'm renting it for, he's going to stay there for 3 years. What's the procedure?
Yes, you'll be interviewed. You'll be interviewed because you are supposed to, once you receive income, within 30 days, you are supposed to file your return to GRA. You see, and the return is on the income that you have received. And once you file the return, we will deduct the 8%, and we will open a folder for you. So subsequently, you have to do the same thing.
What were the penalties? What are the penalties if I don't come and pay my taxes?
Yes. Every law that you cannot enforce is no law at all. And it's not only limited to rent tax. If you are involved or engaged in business and you make profit, you are given assessment, you are supposed to pay the assessment or the tax in good time. And once you don't pay at the right time, you are penalized. Mm-hmm. In the same vein, if you are a property earner and you have got rent income, you are supposed to pay within a time frame. And if you default, and the default is less than 3 months, 20% will be added onto the debt.
20% of what you should have paid?
Yes, should have paid. And if the default is more than 3 months, it's 30%.
And then the enforcement?
The enforcement...
You see, because that's what is going to entice the next person to pay.
And the penalty is one of the enforcement mechanisms, because the penalty is supposed to punish you for not paying on time. At the same time, we have other enforcement mechanisms that we can fall on, like garnishment, like attachment of property, and last but no means the least, prosecution. But most often we try to recover the money or the revenue more than resorting to the last resort, which is prosecution.
You know, some people build, a cluster of single rooms, and they have like 20 single rooms clustered, and then they're renting it all over. I mean, I'm not sure these guys renting this room is going to say, I'm going to look for the rent office to tell my rent officer that I pay, 20 CDs a month, and that, you should come and take his 16 CDs from him or something. Well, it's a dead-end battle.
Somebody, I didn't get your question.
I have a cluster of rooms, maybe 20 rooms, 20 CDs per month or 50 CDs per month. These guys renting these rooms, I'm not sure they will be looking for their next rental office to go and tell the rental office that, I live in this house and I pay X amount, and that's the landlord going, so go and take your 8% from him.
Yeah, that's why we, tax officials, we should work very hard, because the only way we can locate the property earners is to keep track of them.
But how? I mean, if you came to my house,
yes.
I mean, how would you know whether I was renting you if I own it?
And at times we also fall on the tenants. Some of the tenants at times will leak information to us that I'm occupying this particular landlord's property, and I don't think
it's paying the tax.
It's paying the tax, and therefore at times we get such information from tenants. Others too are unwilling because they fear injection. So that's the challenge that we face so far as the rent tax administration is concerned, because the tenants are those who pay the monies, but most of the time they are unwilling to give the information to us. And the landlords are also very clever, and at times to get them becomes difficult. So that's the challenge.
It's this exercise in the urban areas, or because there are some really, really remote areas where there are little rents.
Yeah.
5 cities a month.
The rent tax is not something new. Like I said, it has been in the statute books for a very long time. I think the past 3 days we tried to relaunch it. Relaunching it means it was there, but we want to bring new lease of life into its administration. So the relaunch is not limited to Accra alone. It means all the regions, particularly Kumasi, Ashanti region, then Takoradi, because we have more properties. Apart from Accra, we have more properties in Kumasi and Secretariat Takoradi. That doesn't mean we are ignoring the other regions, because we have district offices in almost all the regions. And every district do have rent desk. And the mandate of the rent desk is to work exclusively on the rent tax. So we are trying to bring new lease of life to the rent desk throughout the country by way of logistics and human resource capacity and so on and so forth.
See, one way of letting anybody buy into this idea is that if the tenant knows that this is what this tax goes to do for me, then they would help you in collecting it.
Yes.
But if they don't see any reason why you should take this 8% and I don't see any benefit from it, then what's the point? I'm not even going to use my units to call Stephen, oh yeah, Stephen, come and get your 8%. So how are we going to let tenants know that this 8%, this is what, this is your benefit from it?
The only way to ensure compliance to any tax system is education. Tax education. And it's being done. At times in the mass media, and at times to every district is made to organize a tax campaign. I had mine last month at Cleaver, near Tigo headquarters.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people participated. So the only way that we can explain the tax system to the taxpayer is through tax education. And during such occasion, we tell them some of the benefits that will accrue to the country. Like without taxation, or without taxes, or without revenues, we cannot build the roads, we cannot provide the hospitals, recreational facilities, and you cannot even ensure law and order because we need money.
The one thing you find now is all these new big real estate companies building all their luxury houses and coming. Some are for sale, some are for rent. You know, I don't know how you work it out. So what do? Visit them and ask them, have you sold it? Have you rented it out? Or,
for those who have big businesses, we don't have problem with them because it's very easy to locate them. Estate developer. I don't think an estate developer should be able to escape the tax net. Mm-hmm. The major challenge that we have is with the informal sector.
Okay.
Because they are not well structured. Mm-hmm. And therefore, and also due to illiteracy and so on and so forth, we find it difficult to capture them. But even with them, we have come out with innovations like the tax stamp concept and the vehicle income tax for the drivers. Because formerly the drivers and car owners, they were not paying anything at all. But we have come out with an innovation whereby we have given them some tax to pay, and they pay on quarterly basis, and they use the sticker system, whereby if you don't have the sticker on your windscreen, the police will arrest you. You see, so even though we have challenges as a developing country, we are trying very hard to come out with innovations.
This sticker system, can you use it for the rent where you have to stick maybe O for owner and R for rent in front of your wall so that the tax force will know that, well, there's the owner living here or there's a rental income, or it won't work on the residents?
No, somebody who has property, it is assumed that that person is somebody who should be knowledgeable, or if that person is not even knowledgeable, somebody who has been able to put up a property, somebody who is, I don't know what word to use.
Enlightened enough. But they are not paid.
So we cannot give them something small to pay. Rather, we have to ascertain their true income and assess them.
No, I'm not talking about sticker and payment. For you to identify that this is a rental property or this is the owner is living in it. Sticker to identify what sort of occupation is in there, as the occupant is renting it or the occupant is the owner of the house.
But property owners or property owners, they have house numbers. So
but you can, if your tax force drove by, they won't know if the guy living there owns the house or is renting it.
Okay.
Meanwhile, with the cars, like you're saying, you can easily identify that he's paid his taxes or he hasn't paid his taxes. I'm just throwing something in the wind. Just say, would it work?
It's a good suggestion. We'll look at it.
But I hear the vehicle income tax thing is gone up by 100%.
Yes, I should think so. I don't have the correct figure, but certainly we are making progress.
Is it not discouraging,
and even with the vehicle income tax and the tax stamp, we take it as deposit on account. It's not a final tax. Mm-hmm. The idea is to tried to bring the large informal sector into the mainstream taxation. So the law that brought the VIT and the tax stamp also indicated that whatever they are paying should not be a final tax. What it means is that as and when we conscientize them, we move them from the tax stamp or from the VIT for them to have their own FAS.
Okay.
Yes, because what we are doing is no taxation at all, but it's an innovation to capture the large informal sector. But taxation should be based on income that you have earned. You see, that's why what they pay on account, we don't consider them as final tax. But in practice, they do not even file returns. But it's a way of moving them from the VIT concept or the tax stamp concept to the mainstream taxation, so that they will have their own file, so that in case they need something, they need tax clearance certificate to transact business, it will not be difficult for them to do so.
Well, let me just read this to you guys out there. And this is the criteria. It says all self-employed persons and property owners who derive income from rent ought to furnish a return of income and a return of property to the rent incomes annually. Yeah. The return of income must be accompanied by, among other things, a statement of income and expenditure, a statement of assets and liabilities. The return of income shall include a declaration that the return is complete and accurate and signed by the person making the return. Taxpayers are to note that failure to furnish a return of income within the time stipulated attracts a penalty of 2 Ghana cedis for companies, 1 Ghana cedi for self-employed people for every day that they default anything. Now, those who are charging rent in dollars, what do you do with them? You get the tax in dollars?
It's not only in rentals that you see people charging dollars, even the hotel industry. At times you go to some of the hotels, they charge dollars. We tax them, but we don't
just convert it into cedi.
We convert it. Then we look at the cedi equivalent, then you convert it. So that's how we go about it.
Let's go about it. Well, Stephen Adade Boafo, Assistant Commissioner at Abraka Small Taxpayer Office, thank you very much for educating us. So all you guys out there in the real estate business know that as soon as the month end or the year ends and you go and pick up your tax, 8% of that is for the state, and don't keep it. My name is Nana Sakwao. Tomorrow we'll be back here to do it all over again.